Theme song. Who, what, when, where, and why?
Podcast.
Do I delight in?
Podcast.
What do I intend to find this time?
Podcast.
Running around and jumping down and bouncing bound and
Podcast.
find another way to duck and hide this Isle of Dreams.
Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Our Dads Are Brothers, a TV and movie review podcast. I'm Nathan Tracy along with my co-host.
And I'm Bat Tracy. In today's episode, we're covering the Spy Kids Trilogy, plus the fourth one, because there is a fourth one. It's just easier to say the Spy Kids Trilogy.
Yeah, yes but no.
Instead of the tetralogy or whatever it is.
You could just say Spy Kids content. How you been?
I've been okay.
That's good.
How have you been?
Pretty good as well.
You've been watching anything?
Oh, not really. Same as usual. Somebody Feed Phil, Ozark, beat Shazam with Jamie Foxx.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty good stuff.
Watching stuff is cool.
Yeah. You been watching anything?
I've been watching so much. I didn't want to hog this whole segment.
Well, then just fly
But
through.
I watched the Book of Boba Fett. I watched the entire season in one day.
Nice.
And I think it's a pretty average show. I do not think it is of higher quality. And it's weird that 2 episodes are just The Mandalorian. Like, Boba Fett's not even in them. Sorry to spoil that for anybody, but it's weird. Then I watched the first 2 episodes of What If, the animated Marvel show. And I think it's pretty good. The only problem I have with it is each episode is very long, and it's hard to get through them. And then I've been watching Obi-Wan Kenobi. I actually just finished episode 5, I think, last night, or maybe 6. So I think I'm caught up to what's been released so far. And then I also watched the movie Hocus Pocus, which is my aunt's favorite movie. And we watched it together, and I thought it was just kind of okay. And I think it's crazy that it was released in theaters because it has a Disney Channel original movie vibe. So that's everything I watched, which was a lot.
Yeah, that was. All right, today is June 23rd. Bring on those birthdays. Who do we got?
Today's birthdays include Melissa Rauch, who's from The Big Bang Theory, Selma Blair, Martin Kaleba, Joss Whedon, who directed The Avengers, David Dobkin, he did like Wedding Crashers, Frances McDormand from Fargo, Joel Edgerton, he's in Star Wars, Aaron Ruel, he's Kip from Napoleon Dynamite. I got a couple other ones. Randy Jackson.
But what has he been in? He's not an actor.
Yeah, well, I saw his name on the list, and you're not going to include Randy Jackson on your list.
Just like if you have a samurai sword and that's all you have,
yeah, you got to get
signed. By Randy Jackson.
You have to. Brandy Rhodes and then Jesse McKay, also known as Billy Kay, 2 wrestlers. It's their birthday too. And then I got a really weird one for you: Glenn Danzig from the band Danzig and the Misfits.
Okay. Why is he on this list?
Because I have a really interesting fun fact about him for you. And he's not being highlighted. This is just a bonus for you.
Okay.
He was like auditioning to be Wolverine when they were casting the 2000 X-Men film, because in the comics, Wolverine's like 4 feet tall. And in real life, Glenn Danzig's like 4 feet tall. So, yeah.
Nice.
They were going to cast him as Wolverine because he looks a lot like Wolverine, or at least he did at the time.
Who are we going to highlight this week?
I was thinking Selma Blair. I'm a really big fan of her, to be honest.
Sure, let's do it.
So she's turning 50 today. She was born in Southfield, Michigan, a town I've literally never heard of. She's been in such movies as Legally Blonde, Hellboy 1 and 2, which I think are her biggest roles. She was in The Sweetest Thing. She was in Ordinary World. That's the movie she did with Billie Joe Armstrong, who's the lead singer of Green Day. She's in Mom and Dad, which is a movie with our boy, the official boy of our podcast, Nicolas Cage.
You haven't brought him up in a while.
And then she was in the TV show Anger Management. That was the one Charlie Sheen did after he got fired from 2.5 Men. It was a remake of the movie with Adam Sandler. And then I've got a fun fact for you about her. She was in 3 movies in 2005, and her final movie of that year, John Carpenter's The Fog, there was water scenes included in the movie, which required Blair to spend over 12 hours underwater in a tank filming the scenes. She also did all of her own stunts for the movie, which I think is pretty badass.
That is crazy. I've got a fun fact about her.
Yeah, go for it.
Her very first role was in The Broccoli Theory as the pretzel cart lesbian.
The pretzel cart lesbian?
That is correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
I have no idea. I'm sure she's
a lesbian who works at a pretzel cart?
Yeah.
Wow, I want to see that movie. I'm genuinely curious if it's streaming. I'm gonna just pause for a second. Hey Roku, search for The Broccoli Theory.
All right, and that was birthdays. I'm gonna quick give out our email. It was ourdadsourbrothers@gmail.com. Hit us up with anything whatsoever, good or bad. Say hello, give us a rating, give us a review, give me your digits. No, don't you dare give me your phone number.
Well, you want to hop into the topic of choice today?
Yes, I do. I would love to.
Do you remember what we're talking about today? I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, actually. So, do you remember?
Yeah, I remember from last week. Wow. I remember from all the prepping I've done this week. It's Spy Kids.
Yes, a franchise I really loved as a kid, and we actually watched it together one time, and it's been a few years since that, and it was fun to rewatch it again.
More than a few, but yeah.
It's been at least 5 years.
It's been at least a decade.
It was not a decade since you lived in that apartment, because I didn't even graduate from high school a decade ago.
I didn't remember that. That's when we watched it last.
All right, you want to start us off with the first Spy Kids movie?
Yes, I do.
All right, what's it called?
The first movie is called Spy Kids.
Wow.
Yeah, came out in 2001.
All right. Well, I'm just going to say, as a blanket statement, all of the Spy Kids movies that have been released theatrically have been written and directed by Robert Rodriguez. So this first one has a budget of $35 million and it grossed $147.9 million in the box office. So it took in a lot of money, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And this one, I'm going to read out all the critic scores for these movies because I think or the Rotten Tomato scores for these movies because I think they're very interesting. The first one has a 93% critic score, which is very high, but it has a 46% audience score, which is lower than good.
Yeah.
Are you part of the 93 or the 46?
Closer to the 93, that's for sure.
Okay. I think the first one's a 5-star movie. I think it's pretty great.
Yeah, I do too. Do you want to give a little synopsis quick, or do you want me to?
Go for it.
So it starts out, parents are spies. Kids don't know. Parents get called off to do something, get kidnapped, and the kids get alerted to go to the safe house. And Uncle Felix shows up, not really their uncle.
What?
And, they have to go to the safe room, and they have to go save their parents and become spies along the way, essentially. And they're kidnapped by Floop, which is like a weird kids show that Junie really likes. And it was just a fun time. It's a save the parents movie. Save
the rec center situation. The rec center being the parents. Yeah, what do you rate this out of 5 stars? I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna throw some 5s around for this one. I also give it 5 stars. Do you have any notes about it? I have plenty. So I'm going to first start out right off the gate. This is a kind of a blanket one for at least the movies. These were all made by Troublemaker Studios, which is Robert Rodriguez founded and owned studio. Actually started as Los Hooligans back in 91. Anyways, these are all came out with under that studio along with Dimension Films. And the opening Troublemaker Studios little clip is amazing. And it changes every movie. It's just that little logo. His name's Peppino. He's the mascot. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So great. I've always liked those. As soon as I started rewatching this first one, I was like, oh yeah, Troublemaker. And especially like the little character does. You know what? I'm getting ahead of ourselves. Never mind. That's from the second one. Yeah, it is. I already know what you're talking about. Yep. So I really like the opening story. It's Ingrid. It's Ingrid, who's the mother spy. She's telling Junie and Carmen Cortez about a story of 2 spies who meet on a mission and fall in love. and it's revealed to the audience the two spies are actually the mom and dad of Junie and Carmen, but they don't know that. So I really like that. It has like a fairy tale type opening.
Yeah, definitely. It was like it's literally how their parents met without them knowing it. So they're like, oh, that's a great story, mom and dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually didn't write this in my notes, but I should have. I really like the bit where they're doing the gymnastics before school at the beginning. Like, just
Yeah.
that because their parents
The
used to be
obstacle course
spies. Yeah.
to be fit at all times. Like, why do you have to do this?
I think this whole movie is perfectly casted, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
All right,
All right,
read me some of your
yeah,
notes.
let's do it back and forth. I'm gonna say right off the bat, the thumbs are hilarious. They like can't catch much. Things hit them in the face. They're just hilarious.
Because they're all thumbs.
Yeah, exactly.
No fingies. I like the sliding chairs at the it's towards the beginning of the movie where when she's doing her makeup and her chair or she's doing her makeup and her and Antonio Banderas are having a conversation and their chairs kind of like slide towards each other's on the floor. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
hers is on a track and it slides over to her towards
Yeah.
Papa
So
Cortez.
that seems kind of absurd to me because it's only like 10 feet. You can't just walk that.
No, definitely not.
Just have a wheelie chair. I don't know. Just seems absurd. Carmen's jump from the monkey bars I thought was really silly. She's like hanging on the monkey bars and she does a flip, and it's very clearly like she's like just pasted flipping down. It's
Yeah.
really weird. But then the mom, he's mimicking me joke, I think is just amazing. There's a part
Yeah.
where Junie is making fun of Carmen and he uses like a record. It's Alexa Vega who does voiceover, but he uses her voice and to make fun of her. And she's like, "Mom, he's mimicking me." And she's like, "Stop using her voice or whatever." I thought that was really good.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
So I think Alan Cummings gives such a great performance for such a weird character in this. Like, I love the commercials in the beginning of the movie because you don't get to see who he is as a character yet. You're just like seeing him on TV,
Right.
and his character is just so cool. And Alan Cummings is a great actor. He played Nightcrawler in X-Men 2, if you've seen it. He was also in Son of the Mask. He played Loki. He's just a fantastic actor, I think, and yeah, I really like him. And then Uncle Felix. There's a fun scene. There's a fun scene when Uncle Felix shows up. He's wearing a fake mustache, and when he explains like, "Oh, your parents are spies," he takes off his mustache and he's like, "Look, it's fake." And I think that's a really funny callback because earlier when Gregorio and Ingrid were getting ready to go on their last mission, he takes out a fake mustache and puts it on for his mission. And so it's funny to think that spies like they all wear fake mustaches.
Yeah. It's like a part of their persona.
Yeah, I thought that was a really funny scene. The escape scene is my favorite scene in the entire movie,
Really.
where they go into the pod and they're in the underwater thing.
And Uncle Felix says, "Green button to close it, blue button to go."
Yeah, and then she's like,
"Where's the green button?"
Green
He just hits the blue one or whatever. And
yeah, I think that's really good. And there's a funny scene where Junie, I think, like takes a shit in the toilet.
That was actually
my
note. So, they're in this pod underwater for so long, and Carmen passes out. She's just taking a nap, and Junie's playing with this, playing with that, playing with this, and then it just cuts away from him putting away the toilet, and the lady goes, "Now flushing your poop," and he just goes, "Yeah."
So when they leave, so when they get to their safe house, do you have any notes about their safe house? All right, so the scene where it's when they're escaping in the pod and they're still on top of the water, and they're like flying on top of the water. They smash through a boat. There's a part where the thumb boats, like the boats with all the thumbs on them, so the pod shoots out of the island that the Cortezes live on, which I don't think we mentioned that they live on an island.
Mhm.
But it shoots off the island, and then all of a sudden the shot is a close up on their faces, and it shows the back behind them, and it's the island. And then the next shot is a zoomed out shot, and all of a sudden there's 3 thumb boats behind them. It's like, where the fuck did they come from? The island's behind them. They just popped out.
They did just pop out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, they're being chased, and then so they pull some maneuvers here and there, and all the Thumb Thumbs get all destroyed.
Yeah.
Then they get safely to this new island with a safe house. You know, they were in the safe room in their house, but now they're in the safe house. All the cupboards are empty, and they're like, how is this much of a safe house if there's no food? Open the cupboard again, full of food. Everything you could ever imagine.
My next
Instantly.
note is literally safe house is awesome. All the food.
All the food.
I think
Yeah,
they even have McDonald's, right?
yeah, yeah. It's a little packet, and it's literally just yellow and red. She puts in the special, like a microwave, but it's a rehydrator, and boom, instantly Big Mac, fries, and a Coke.
Yeah, which is
So
crazy
funny.
because it's even in like the packaging and stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely. It's just an ad, which McDonald's later did have Spy Kids toys, so it was probably a partnership.
Oh, I
Like,
remember getting them as a kid.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah. My next note is about the fake floor puzzle
that is
in
exactly my next note.
it's a clever gag
It is.
where Gregorio has to jump over it and then he's like he falls through but he just lands on the floor.
He's like, I better get a running start for this one.
It's pretty clever.
Which is funny later though, because the same thing is actually a hole.
Yeah. But like if you think about that in like the real world practices, if you had a mansion and you put that in, if someone just happened to step too close, it would fall and then they'd
Yeah.
be like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
look how wide that is. I can't jump that." And they'd
No.
just leave.
It was so long, especially where he landed. Like clearly he would not have made it. He landed right in the middle. So something I didn't mention earlier in the synopsis is that the Floop, spoiler, the whole thing, obviously, is kind of the bad guy, and he's got a minion with him and everything. And part of their whole deal is like to create a little child army, like the president's daughter and so on and so forth, to try to sneak in places. So they made a bad Junie and a bad Carmen. And the next scene that my notes about is when they meet them, and Junie, the bad Junie, walks up to Carmen, and they're robots, so they're super strong and whatnot. And my note is that Carmen won't stop punching him. Like she keeps trying. She goes to like punch him, like ow, and stop, and then a little later punch him again. Ow! It's like she's not learning her lesson. And I think that was funny.
That was pretty good. Well, my next scene is or note is that the jetpack scene is very silly because they're flying like wild. You couldn't do that.
They always
Like,
are.
I know that I just most of my notes are just like things are silly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the jetpacks is ridiculous. Later on in all the movies, like their shoes have rockets in the bottom, and they just fly around like nothing, like nobody's business, and it's always so silly.
And then so there's a part where Alex Minion, who turns out to be the real bad guy in the movie, there's a part where he's like threatening Gregorio with he's like, I'm gonna do this and that, and I'm gonna take over the world, and ha 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 ha. And Gregorio's like, I'm gonna stop you, and he's like, yeah, you and what army? And then Ingrid jumps in from like off the left of the frame, and she's like, with me, and he's like, what? And then Junie, then like Carmen jumps in from the other side of the frame, and she's like, and with me. And then like Junie jumps in, he's like, and me. And Gregorio's like, where did you all come from? It's like they were just standing to your side off frame. Like the room, they're in a room. Like they had to all just be standing on the side of the room, and they're like, oh, he doesn't see us if he's not looking at us. Just things like I always notice little things like that because I just always go, that's a silly choice. But I like silly choices. It's what makes it fun and memorable. My next note is just a quote, and it's "Oh shiitake mushrooms," which I think leads into your previous note of punching them.
Yeah, I believe that's when that happens. Yeah,
Yeah,
and she does say this a few more times throughout the series.
Yeah, oh shiitake. I remember as a kid watching this for the first time, thinking that was so clever and funny.
Well, it's because especially the way she does it, she literally lands the word shit.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh shiitake mushrooms."
No, it's longer. It's like, oh shit, aki mushrooms. Like dot aki mushrooms. Like I was like, that is a full on shit right there. There was a scene where the thumbs they shows the thumbs getting created, and they put thumbs on like the head thumb on
like robotic thumbs.
Yeah, and the nurse was pinkies. It was instead of thumbs, it's pinkies with like a long pinky nail, and I just thought it was funny.
I just have to interject with a quick hello, nurse.
There you go. Animaniacs, anyone?
Oh yeah.
Early in the movie, they meet their real uncle. Like we said, Uncle Felix was not their real uncle. They meet their real uncle, which is their dad's brother, and
Their
and
dads are brothers.
their dads are brothers.
Well, no, because
No,
he doesn't have a kid.
dang it. You took that and went the wrong way.
Yeah.
And they show up and he's like, "What are you messing with?" He's like, "World's smallest camera." And he goes, "I don't see anything." And he's like, "Yeah, but it sees you, and it's on his fingertip, and he barely can see it." So then when they get some equipment from him, he gets like a bag full of those. And the note I have is, placing the cameras looked silly because he's just going around basically just poking the wall, and he'd like turn around and try to look secretive and poke the wall because he's placing them, but it just looked so stupid.
Yeah, and no one would think if you saw someone walking on the hallway just poking a wall, you'd be like, all right, well that person's just weird.
Yeah.
Like, but they're not gonna be like, oh, that guy's placing security cameras to check us out or whatever, because he's just like boop boop.
My next one is when.
Sorry to cut you off. Did we say his name?
We've not said any. You've said Antonio Banderas, and that's the only actor so far.
No, but I mean, we didn't even say the character name of Machete.
No, we're slacking on how to run this.
All right, well, I'm gonna put the blame on you, Nathan. You forgot to mention the uncle's name because I said Uncle Felix earlier.
Well, how about I just say it then? So early in the movie, they meet their real uncle, not fake Uncle Felix. The real uncle, which is Gregorio Cortez's brother, which is Machete.
Isidore.
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
Danny Trejo.
Yes, Machete.
Which is actually the director's second cousin.
Danny Trejo?
Yes, sir.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I like to get you with the facts that you don't know. Because you know so much. I'm just like, bam, you didn't know that. And you're like, what?
Yeah, I legit did not know that. I probably read it on his Wikipedia page before and just never.
So anyways, when they meet their uncle, and he takes a bag of them and he's placing them all around Floop's castle. Or Floop's whatever.
I think it's a castle. It's a weird castle on a spooky island.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere with fog surrounding it. And like how this guy just makes a TV show. I don't understand it.
And my next note is when they find Floop, because it turns out he's kind of a good guy because Minion's actually the bad guy, like you said. Floop's with Junie and he goes to, I don't know if Junie's there, but they go to rescue Ingrid, their mother.
And sorry to cut you off. Junie is there because Junie's the one who talks Floop into becoming a good guy. Where he's the one who's like, hey, Floop, you're not a bad guy. You are a good guy because you do this.
Not that part. When they rescue the mom. Is Junie rescuing her mom? I don't know.
No, that's Carmen.
Yeah.
Because that's when Carmen and her have that talk where they're like, go for it.
So Floop and Carmen are rescuing the mother. And Floop's like, oh, I've got keys. Hold on. He's like flipping through the keys and trying to get it in the keyhole, trying to open the door of the cell to get her out. And Carmen's got this acid cran and she just ding, 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 like on all the bars. And right when he finally gets the door open, he turns around and she's got half like the whole thing ripped off. And he's like, oh.
I really like that because that's such an impractical tool. And it's just so silly to me. Like, I love it because if it's just the whole crayon, is the crayon itself made of acid? Because you'd have to hold it on the wrapper.
No, I think I assume, I thought about many things like that, about many things in this movie. Yeah. But I assume there's deeper technicalities when it comes to these, like it has to make only contact with certain things. Like it'll only work with metal and it'll burn through metal or stone or something, not flesh. Same with like there's electric gumballs. How is it not, electrocuting in your mouth while you're chewing it? It's probably once it's mixed with saliva, X amount of seconds later it works type of thing. Like they're not going to disclose all those, but there's probably some certain things behind everything.
I would say so. It's different from like Agent Cody Banks, if you've seen that. Which is another Spy Kid movie that came out around the same time. In that movie, it's more like in tune with like James Bond. So they explain like all the gadgets and how they work and stuff. Where in this is just like, hey, look at this crayon. It's acid now. All right, we're going to use it and then we're never going to mention again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
No, it's totally fine. It's just a different perspective.
One thing that towards the end, like the the bad guys become good guys. It's a common theme. So the thumbs are being helpful. So towards the end of the movie, like it's a common theme that the bad guys become good guys, at least most of the time, and the thumbs, which are normally bad henchmen, are being really helpful. I don't remember what they're doing, but they're being helpful.
Oh
And
yeah, I think Floop even gives like a couple to the Cortezes to use
yeah,
in their kitchen and stuff.
yeah, they show up. That might have even been it. It might have been in the kitchen where like Thumb does something nice and she gives him a thumbs up. I just thought that was funny. Like
I bet
he's
that
a
felt really
thumb.
good for him.
Yeah.
He's like, wow.
But imagine if they're like middle fingers. Would you flip them off? Like, I don't know.
No, you got to give him the thumb.
So I've been kind of hogging with notes. Do you got any more?
Well, I think our last notes are probably, well, my last note is probably the same as one you have. And it's just that the character of Devlin is amazing in these movies. Like, he's only in the first and third, I think. He's not in the second, but it's George Clooney who has a cameo, and he appears with a black bar over his eyes.
Yeah.
That's his first appearance, and you're like, oh, is that George Clooney? And then you're like, wait, that is. And then when you think he's just doing this fun cameo where he's behind a black bar, he just reaches up and takes the black bar off his eyes, and
Yeah,
then
and it's
he's just
actually a physical black bar, almost like it's like a cardboard piece or something.
yeah, it's like he just puts it up on the screen in front of him.
Yeah, it's so
It's a
funny.
very clever.
Yeah, my last note is just that the end credit scene, the post credit scene, it's just like pans down a hallway slowly, and that's it. And then it happens again in the second one.
Yeah,
It's just
see,
an interesting thing.
I've never seen an end credits scene for these movies before, so when you told me that, I was pretty shocked.
Yeah, I was just hoping. I was like, if there's anything, I hope it's good, and then it wasn't. It was just like a slight pan down a hallway. I was like, okay.
I don't understand it, but
So now,
it's funny that you mentioned it's just zooming down a hallway because this is the second movie that George Clooney's in where there's a sequence where someone is sliding down a hallway.
but I just want to mention a few of my favorite cast members that we didn't mention. Mike Judge is in this. He's actually in the first three.
Yeah, Donegan
He's
giggles.
he's the creator of Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill. In case people don't know who Mike Judge is, because he's not
Idiocracy.
he's not the biggest actor. I don't think so.
No.
Some people might not know by name.
Idiocracy. I think you mentioned me that you haven't seen that. That movie's incredible.
Correct.
He
Yeah, I'll watch
also created Silicon Valley, which I just recently rewatched. I think I talked
Nice.
about it on the podcast.
Cheech Marin. I don't know if you said that, but that was Uncle Felix. Danny Trejo. We already said that. That was Uncle Machete.
Yep.
Alan Cumming, Antonio Banderas.
Junie and Carmen are played by Alexa Vega and Daryl Sabara, respectively.
And who is the mother? Carla.
Gugino.
Yeah.
The thing outside of these movies, the thing I most recognize her from is she's Sally Jupiter in the Watchmen movie.
I couldn't put a finger on it. As soon as I restarted watching this, I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's so familiar."
Yeah, that's
Honestly,
the thing
might
I
be from what
most know her from.
it might have been just from watching this as a kid. It's like bringing back memories.
Gotcha.
I know this one you really want to tell us. Who played Alex Minion?
It was Tony goddamn Shalhoub.
I knew you wanted to say that one.
Yeah, Tony Shalhoub. I love saying the guy's name. I was like mentioning to you off the podcast. I was like, hey, I can't wait to cover his birthday. And then I looked it up and it's like 7 years away. And I was like, I'm never gonna get to say this guy's name. And I was like watching Spy Kids and I was like, holy shit, I forgot he's in this.
Perfect.
Robert Patrick is also in this movie. I really like him. He's of course in Terminator 2.
Yeah, he's also in the show Scorpion. He's
okay.
really good in that one.
I have not seen that.
All right, well, I think that's good for the first one. Do you agree?
Yeah, I don't have much else to say about that one.
All right, let's move on to Spy Kids 2, Island of Lost Dreams.
From 2002. This one came out actually just over a year after the first one. Because the first one was released in July and this one was released in August. Oh, no, I think the first one was actually released in March.
I thought the first one was, I think it's August, March, July.
No, I think it's March, August, July.
Will you owe me $1 if you're wrong?
Sure.
March, August, July. Is that what you said?
Yep. All right, so yeah, the first one was released in March, and this one was released in August. So just over a year later, this one came out. And this one had a slightly increased budget. It had $38 million and it grossed 119.7 million. So a small decline from the first movie, but still did pretty well considering the budget. And the Rotten Tomato scores of this one, the critic score is a 75%, and the audience only gives this a 39%, which is pretty bad.
And I don't think it was all that bad. There's some bad parts or bad CGI, but
Yeah, there's some
I liked it.
there's more goofiness to this one, but I think it's still a solid movie.
Yeah, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, do you want to give us a synopsis?
So it starts out where Junie and Carmen need to come save the president's daughter, and then while they're there, some two other spy kids show up, which are the Giggles.
Gary
Gertie.
and Gertie Giggles, the son and daughter
I can't
of
laugh at
Donegan
Gary.
Giggle.
Yeah, which is Mike Judge's their dad.
Yeah.
And they show up, and they're kind of like fame hungry, so they're like trying to outdo Junie and Carmen, and they try to like outdo Carmen and Junie, and then so the reward is to get special clearance and go on the special mission to the special island that it kind of isn't on the radar. Some crazy mysteries about it. No one really knows. Some past OSS agents were kind of like, "Huh, this island, I don't know." I don't know. Junie and Carmen kind of switch it back up because they actually get kicked off the squad, or at least Junie does. And they hack, get their badges back. They're like, no, we're going to go to this mission. Send them over into some random desert where they actually fall in some camel doo-doo, which is really funny. And then they meet this special cool guy, and there's some special cool animals, and this special cool thing happens. And
Yes. The
is that exactly how you did say it? Like a lot of special cool things?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your first note?
All right. Well, my first note for this movie. Sorry, I got to back out of Spy Kids. All right. So the opening of this movie, it's the Dimension Films logo, which Dimension wasn't around for the first movie, but it was started for the second movie. And it starts with the logo of Dimension Films. It's this little guy with a little hat and stuff.
No, that's Troublemaker.
Oh, is that Troublemaker?
Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning. I said that because the Pepino is the Troublemaker logo guy.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I just had the studio wrong then. Yeah, it's a Troublemaker Studios guy, and he turns into the ride that is in the movie at the start of the film.
Yeah, and he was in the first one too.
And I just want to say the ride that they are on, I can't remember the name of it. It's called the Vominator or something, but
yeah,
it's so fucking gross. The dude who is like showing off the ride.
Yeah, Bill Paxton.
It's Bill Paxton, yes. He's like, oh, you gotta have an umbrella, and he opens the umbrella, and puke just comes flying down and covers the umbrella. That's so nasty.
That's one of my notes. You start with he's just holding one, and you're kind of like, huh, why is he holding an umbrella? And then like way later, like he shows off this ride, that ride, this ride, that ride, and then he boom opens it, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that's why he was carrying the umbrella from the beginning. That's funny. His name was Dinky Winks, by the way.
Yes, because then his son shows up later in the movie as Dinky Winks Jr., which is, I think, Robert Rodriguez's son who plays him. I was gonna say my next note is the Juggler, which is the ride that the president's daughter is stuck on. It looks insanely unsafe.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely not safe.
Yeah, like there's no way that could be a real ride in real life.
No.
Oh god. Also, this isn't a note, but something we should mention. This is actually the longest Spy Kids movie. It's an hour and 40, where all the others are less than an hour and a half.
So one of my first notes, so the whole saving the daughter thing is the opening scene. And then here comes the theme, like where the title of the movie and the Robert Rodriguez production and everything. And when it shows Spy Kids 2, right after the word Spy Kids, there's a little TM. And it just looks so out of place, and it's so ridiculous. Right when I first saw it, it was like Spy Kids TM2, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it's not in the third one or the fourth one. It was just like, or the first one even. It was just Spy Kids TM. It was funny.
It is really weird. I didn't notice that, I guess. Well, while the daughter is on the Juggler, there's a scene that I really liked where the president's like, "You gotta get my daughter off that thing. How's it going or whatever?" So there's a part where president's like wondering what the Secret Service is going to do to get his daughter down from this ride, and the one Secret Service agent tells him we have everything under control, and then that guy turns away from the president. Another agent tells him there's nothing we can do, sir.
And the president's Shooter McGavin.
Yes, Christopher McDonald. And this is a note that I think just ties in with this scene. Sorry to just throw these all out at you, but
Sure.
they're all from this one scene. The gadgets I think go a bit too hard at the start. It's like,
Yeah.
chill out a little bit. Like they have Spider-Man claws. They got, the other kids show up with the gadgets. They got the helicopter thing. Like they're doing so much at the start.
Well, I think they were trying to show us, like, since the last movie, we came up with so much. Like, not we came up, meaning the movie, but like the kids upgraded their weapons, their gear,
It's
and then
just,
the other
I
kids
don't
are
know.
trying. The whole movie, the other kids are one upping them. So it's kind of like in Harry Potter. As soon as Harry gets the newest like broom, Malfoy's like, "Psh, I got this broom. You know what
Yeah,
I'm talking about?
exactly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
just like that. So then after that, it goes to like the thank you dinner for the president, like thank you for rescuing my daughter type dinner. And there's the waiters are going around giving literally everyone champagne, even attempting to give to the kids, and the kids are like, "We're kids, we can't drink." And they do a speech. Everyone drinks. Literally everyone. The president, secret agents, every adult took a drink of that champagne.
Yes,
All
yes.
pass out.
Oh,
I think
all
my
of it.
note about that is Carmen touches the glass, rubs her fingers together, and knows what it is. Like she can pick out the poison by touching it. I was just like, that's weird.
I thought that was weird too. My understanding of that is she has things on her fingertips,
She might have, yeah.
like gluey things, and like I don't know, they go to a chip that's in her brain or
Yeah,
something. I don't
maybe.
fucking know.
But then in this fight scene, Carmen picks up 2 spoons, and I got some Mystery Men vibes right there. And she threw these spoons at the dude, and then picks up more silverware, and then all of a sudden the ship's magnetic, and they all start floating, and all the dudes with metal heads go and magnet to it and stuff. But yeah, I got some Mystery Men vibes right there. So like I said earlier, they kind of switch assignments. So then they're in this second, like a dragonfly looking thing. They're underwater, and again they're waiting, and Carmen goes to make Junie a meal, and boom, there's Big Mac's second appearance. Tries to give him a Big Mac and fries. I was just like, there it is.
They love their McDonald's, those
They do.
Cortezes.
They do.
Well, my next note is the entire Giggles family have dumb names. Well, one, their last name is Giggles, and
Yeah.
I guess Gary is a pretty normal name, but when it's Gary Giggles, sounds stupid.
Yeah.
And then her name's Gertie Giggles, and then
Yeah.
Donegan
Right.
Giggles. Like, what the hell? That's dumb names.
So, like I said earlier, when they get in that camel poop, I just wrote down in this note, Gertie goes, camel poop. And it was funny.
Which Gertie is played by Emily Osmond, who went on to star as Lily in the Hannah Montana TV series.
That's I recognize her from.
Yeah.
So, right about this time, when they're like, oh no, the children are missing. Like, because, like I said, so then all of a sudden, the power goes out in the kids' craft, and they're no longer on radar, and the parents are all freaking out. And Ingrid Cortez's parents show up, the grandparents. And right when they show up, though, Donegan Giggles goes, I know this might be a bad time. Sounded exactly like Hank Hill when he said it. He goes, I know this might be a bad time. And I was just like, ah.
I
Like,
thought
love
the
it when
same exact thing. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
I love it when you see, like, it happens with Seth MacFarlane sometimes too. Like, he's just talking normal during an interview, and it's like normal voice. You're like, okay, whatever. He sounds like the Family Guy characters here and there. And then all of a sudden he'll say one line, and you're just like, that sounded like Brian. Like,
Mhm.
there's times where they say, oh, they're just talking normal, and they sound like a character they did. It's great. But I don't remember what this note's for. It says, for kids with meteor hands. Do you have that as a note, hopefully?
I do not.
I don't remember what it was, but it was something
The
like,
kids with meteor hands.
yeah, like fat hands. Like, oh yeah, this one's for kids with meteor hands. Like, oh man, I forgot why I wrote that note, but it's funny.
So I'm going to start this off by saying that we had to record this in 2 separate sessions. So if it's a little disjointed, that's why. At least at this part.
It's gonna sound perfect. What are you talking about? So Steve Buscemi's character Romero, he's on this island alone, and he creates some crazy creatures that he wanted to make a miniature for kids to have fun with, but then they became huge, and like a goldfish, no, like a catfish. So it's like part cat, part fish. Spider monkey was part spider, part monkey. Any compound animal you can think of.
Some of them are just weird and
Yeah.
creepy looking,
Yeah,
and
like
the
one is a
CGI
flying
is bad.
pig. Yeah. But he has one line because he's creating things, so he's kind of like his own little god. Like he feels like he's creating. So he has this line that I thought was extremely powerful. He sits there and looks off and he goes, "Do you think God stays in heaven because he's scared of what he has created on earth?" Question mark, question mark, question mark. And I was just like, that's a deep question for a Spy Kids movie. I was like, wow.
That is a deep question.
Because he stays hidden away from all those animals because he's scared of what he created. So he's like, whoa, do you think God stays in heaven?
All right, so Machete. He says that a rubber band is the best gadget, and it has 999 uses. I have a drawer full of rubber bands. Am I the
Nice.
best? Am I the best secret agent?
Well, he even straight up says, "You, as long as you know how to use them, you got to think outside the box."
What do you think inside the box? What if you put
Then
all the rubber
if you
bands in a
think inside the
box?
box, you think a rubber band is just a rubber band because that's how they were in the beginning. They're like a hair tie or a rubber. I don't remember what they called it because he took it out of his hair to give to her. But it's like a rubber band. What good is this? And he's like, "It's what you do with it that counts."
All right,
And
well,
I was actually very disappointed because they used it like once. And there's so many times that I, as a viewer, was like, "Oh, they should whip out the rubber band and do this with it." Oh, they didn't. Oh, they should. Nope, they didn't. I was so
they
upset.
should have used it 999 times.
They should. It should have just turned into Spy Kids, the rubber band movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my next note is Minion was the bad guy in the first movie. Now they like him. This is confusing, but that's a note I wrote and then realized, oh wait, they do this every movie. Didn't realize that at first.
Well, and he's different now. He's got 4 faces and 3 hands on each hand, on each arm. So he's not going to get away with much. Speaking of bad CGI, like you said about the creatures, I thought the skeletons, when they went into the skeleton room and then there was a whole fight with them, the skeleton fight just looked horrible. Like they were straight up, you could tell they were swinging at nothing. Like certain fight scenes with other CGI monsters are fine, but it was a hilarious fight scene in a bad way. Again, he goes, "Skeletons? Dead skeletons? Like, what other skeletons are there?"
That's what Carmen even says to him.
Yeah.
She's like, what other kinds are there? Well, my next 2 notes, I think, have to do with bad CGI. So, do you mind if I rattle these 2 off?
Go right ahead.
The sea dragon is weird looking because it has 2 heads and they're connected at both ends of the tail. How does it poop?
Well, how does cat dog poop? That's a question that people will never know the answer of.
You know that episode of South Park where they put food up their butt and they poop out their mouth?
Yeah.
That's how cat dog is.
And they blur it out every time. They put the little black box.
And then Mike Judge's office, bit overkill.
Yeah.
He's like hopping from like column to column in a room of emptiness with these columns that stand like 50 feet in the air. Yeah.
He's a little exhausted the day and he's got to get to his desk and he's like,
yeah. Or he slips and falls. He just falls to his death like for 50 feet. Like
maybe that was a special event office for that scene. He's like, "Oh, my real office isn't cool enough."
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like too much.
In the first one, Carmen says, "Oh shit, hockey mushrooms." In this one, she says, "You're so full of shit, hockey mushrooms." She delivers it way better than I do, but
she's a professional actor.
Yeah.
You know, I can relate to that.
And then my last note, before my last note, my second to last note, I suppose, is Gary's laugh. It's just so funny.
Can you do it for us?
I can't. I tried it earlier in the podcast and I failed miserably, so I'm not going to try it again.
I don't remember it good enough to try
My wife accidentally did it because she like sneezed or hiccuped or something, and I was just like, you just sounded like Gary Giggles. And she goes, "I know exactly what you're talking about." It was a good moment.
Matt O'Leary is who plays him. Did you know that?
Do you have any more notes?
Yes, The Rock looks like a hot dog.
I thought you meant Dwayne Johnson. I was like, he wasn't in this.
Oh,
yes.
There's a rock. There's a scene where there's a rock that looks like a hot dog. Yep. And Junie goes, "This rock looks like a hot dog." The falling forever scene is amazing. It's my favorite scene in this movie. It's the one that I've always remembered.
Yeah. We've been falling for 4 hours. What do you expect?
Well,
People
she's
weren't
like,
falling.
and then she's like, "How long do you think we've been falling?" And he goes, "I think about 3 hours." And she goes, "It feels like 4." And then he's like, "Well, I think my watch stopped telling time 2 hours ago," or something like that.
Well, their watch doesn't say time since the get go. So he goes, we'd know if our watch told time.
Yeah, that's what it is. But I love it. And then they just kind of just hop off, and they're like, "Oh, we've just been on this like platform thing or
Yeah.
this like wind machine."
Yeah.
So my next note is the green. I wrote the green screen scenes are really noticeable. But I mean, oh my goodness, there's too many rhymes. The green screen scenes are really noticeable. You can always tell by looking at their feet when they're walking on stuff.
Mhm.
It just looks, it's like, oh, they're not really
Well,
there.
I think just in general, and I don't know if it's because these are like in 2001 or I don't know the reason behind it, but like the interacting with CGI, terrible. The green screen scenes, terrible. Like
Yes.
it's just like not the best quality when it comes to fakeness.
Yep. So my last two notes I have are just kind of about the overall quality of the movie and how much I enjoyed it. Didn't remember movie as well. The CGI is super wonky and doesn't hold up, but the story is kind of fun. And
Yeah,
then my last note is I think this movie jumps the shark a bit, which is very noticeable in the follow-up movie.
it jumps the what?
Jumps the shark.
I'm not familiar with that term.
Really?
Yeah.
There's an episode of Happy Days where Fonzie was like riding on skis behind a boat and he
Hmm.
went over a ramp and jumped over a shark. And people say that's the episode when the show started to get bad. So people use the term jump the shark as when it kind of goes a little too over the.
Nice.
Yes. Those are all my
So
notes. So
that's
how
I got.
many?
I got
Yes.
one more. I got
Oh,
one
okay.
more.
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, my last note is about the end credit scene. While the credits are rolling, you brought this up earlier to me. For some reason, this is very out of place, but for some reason, Carmen's about to get on stage and sing, and she goes, "I can't sing." It's like, well, then why is she about to get on stage? Anyways, and Machete gives her this headset with a little box that'll make her sing, and he gives her a belt. He goes, "This will make you dance like Brittany Lopez." And I thought that's funny
Yep.
because Britney Spears, Jennifer Lopez, and then Junie gets a guitar and he gives him the pick or whatever, and he goes, "This will make you play guitar like Angus Van Santana," which is Angus Young from AC/DC, Van Halen, and Santana all linked together. I just think it's clever that they were just like, "You're gonna be amazing," and they threw out those little references from other names.
And now I'm gonna tear this scene down for you because I hate it. Because
Oh, I know you do.
it's stupid. One, it's so out of place. It has nothing
So
to
out
do
of
with a
place.
mission. He's just like, hey, for some reason, you're gonna go sing a song in a concert in a stadium filled with rabid fans. Makes no sense in the first place. But then he's like, I gave you these gadgets, and they somehow just make you the best singer, which she's not because it's auto tuned as fuck. And then he's like, and Junie with your little wart fingers, because he has warts in the first movie. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
He's like, you with your little tiny wart fingers, you're gonna play this guitar and shred like a madman. Get out there. And then they do it, and then they come back and they're like, wow, those gadgets were awesome. And he's like, I fucking forgot to put the batteries in them. And they're like, whoa, what?
What?
Stupid. It totally takes you out of the movie.
Yeah.
If I was in the theater, I would have walked out.
Literally, if you ever watch it again, just turn it off. As soon as the credits start, turn it off.
Oh yeah, I will.
Yeah.
It's a bad scene.
If you ever watch it again. I don't know.
Overall, how many stars do you give Spy Kids 2?
I think like I told you in the beginning, I'm gonna be throwing stars around. I might give it a 5 because
That is
I
outrageous.
see no reason not to. Because even the bad is good. Like it's so funny. Like I know I'm jumping ahead, and I know you're gonna disagree with me, but I'm gonna give the next one 3 stars even. 5 stars. The next one's the third movie. Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna stick to that, but wow. I'm giving this one 4 stars out of 5. I do not think it holds up as well as the first movie. The first movie I think is a timeless classic, and this one just has a lot of goofiness and like the CGI is just it doesn't hold up. Like I hate to say
Yeah.
it, like it's a good movie,
But
but it doesn't hold up.
there's more
And
locations. The last one is very like Floop's Castle. That's it for the most part. And then
Yeah, and I don't know. There's lots of like movies from the 90s and stuff that have terrible CGI that I really like. So
mhm.
it's not a detriment to it. It's just I can't give it the full five. I just can't.
And like I said, I'm probably just throwing them around. Like I'm being a little 5-star slut over here, so whatever.
I think
Steve,
I'm a 4-star slut because I give way more movies four than anything.
you're just the average. You
Now
know,
four
four for
is
you,
pretty
four
good.
for you. Yeah. Oh yeah. Only a few more additional cast members compared to the last one. I already mentioned Steve Buscemi, but you said Matt O'Leary's in this, Emma Yasmin. Um, we pretty much mentioned all the new ones, but the grandparents are Ricardo Montalban
Yep.
and Holland Taylor.
I don't know who she is,
She
but
was.
I think everyone knows who Ricardo Montalban is.
Right. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, you'll recognize.
Khan. That was Star Wars.
So the grandmother, Holland Taylor, if I'm saying correctly, is Charlie Sheen's mother in 2.5 Men.
Oh, the one that's always like, if you wouldn't feed Jake all those snacks, maybe he wouldn't smoke pot. That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the one that's like, I don't have any panty lines because I'm not wearing any. And he's like, Mom, stop it. Yeah, it was fun.
I will be honest with you, from my heart of hearts, I hate 2.5 Men. I think it's a terrible show.
I'm not quite there. Like you're giving it a 1 star, if not 0 stars, but I'd give it like a 2. Like there's some funny parts to me. The list of guest stars, which I know most shows have a huge guest star list, but I'm looking at it right now and it's freaking massive.
Yeah. I
I think it's
remember
weird that
Miley Cyrus being on it was kind of cool,
yeah,
but I don't know. It's just the entire premise of the show, it just treated women like shit. And I
oh
don't
yeah,
know.
oh there's a lot of bad stuff to it. I get that, but
Yeah.
and especially when Charlie Sheen was done and all of a sudden Ashton Kutcher took over, it was kind of a weird
Transition though. I like that how they killed Charlie Sheen.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, have you seen the series finale? So this is totally off topic, but the series finale of
Save
Two and a
it
Half
for
Men.
the 2.5 Men episode.
You're not doing that. I guess we could talk about this in like worst TV endings, but have you ever seen the series finale of 2.5 Men where Charlie Sheen
I
gets
don't think so.
or Charlie Harper gets killed?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna spoil it for you. I don't care. So basically, they get news that they're like, "Oh, Charlie actually is still alive, and he didn't die 2 seasons ago or whatever when we fired him." And it turned out that Rose pushed like a random person in front of a train and killed someone, and pretended that was Charlie. And she's had Charlie like locked up in her basement for like 3 years or something.
Nice.
And he escaped, and he walks up to the house, and as he like rings the doorbell, a piano that Ashton Kutcher's character ordered is being delivered overhead by a helicopter, and it falls and lands on top of Charlie and kills him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, you want to do the introduction for Spy Kids? The next Spy Kids movie that was in theaters is what I think its official title was called.
Yeah, that might have been it. Actually, it's gonna give
I'd have to check my notes, but I think that's right.
I'm actually gonna give a random little note right in the middle. Robert Rodriguez first drew the thumbs when he was 13 years old.
Oh, he's 13?
Yep. The more you know.
Pretty cool. I actually have Robert Rodriguez's book right next to me on my shelf.
Nice.
Yeah. It's called Rebel Without a Crew. He talks about like how he films movies by himself without a crew. It was how he made Mariachi. All right, what's the next Spy Kids movie?
One more note, because that's to do with Spy Kids 2.
Oh my god. Okay, what is it?
Robert Rodriguez decided to shoot Spy Kids 2 digitally after watching early footage of Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones.
Wow. That's the worst Star Wars movie in that trilogy.
Maybe he should not have fallen in that instinct of his.
I don't like that movie very much.
All right, the next one. You already said the title, but I'll tell you the real title. It's called
was I wrong?
Spy Kids 3D. It came out 3D. Game Over. The amount of times I say game over in this movie, like, you watch a movie or a show and you wait for them to say the title and they do it like once or twice the whole movie. They say game over.
The game's called Huzzah.
What's it called?
Huzzah.
I
If you're
Gotcha.
sitting in a theater and say you're watching the movie Godzilla, right?
Yeah.
And you're in a theater and it's packed, and then someone in the movie goes, "Oh my God, it's Godzilla!" You stand up and go, "Huzzah!" So this one came out in 2003 and it had a budget of $38 million, the same as the second movie. But this one had the highest gross that it brought in. It brought in $197 million, which is the
Wow.
highest of the entire trilogy at this point. And the Rotten Tomato scores, it has a 45% critic score, so it's the first rotten Spy Kids movie, and the audience score is even lower at 25%. And I'm going to be honest, I am part of the 75% that think this is a bad movie in the audience score.
But like you said to me before, a bad movie with good things in it.
Yes. But overall, I would, if because of how Rotten Tomatoes works,
Sure.
it's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I would be
Yeah.
a thumbs down, so I'm part of the 75% or
Okay.
the 65%.
In the beginning, Junie's like, I'm done. No longer a spy, which we'll touch base on some of that right there in a minute. And he's trying to save up for a video game that's the whole world wants. And he saves up for it. He's in
Oh,
line. He's
game
about
over.
it's called Game Over, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's standing in line and he sees a promo for it and saying like it's getting sold out, it's huge, blah blah, blah, huge prize, it's amazing, blah blah blah. And they're like, but we don't know who made it. We can't see him, or he's declined interviews. And the guy saying all that has a mustache. He's like, yeah, the creators just declined interviews, and he's the creator later. Spoiler alert. His name's the Toy
Wow.
Maker. Junie gets scooped up by. Oh, sorry. Junie gets brought in by Mike Judge
The
because
OSS.
Carmen is missing, and he comes in all like, "What? My sister?" He's like, "Well, not physically missing. She's right there and she's floating, but her mind's missing. She's stuck
trapped
in
in
the
the
game.
game.
Stuck." And the whole premise of the game is, at some point, every kid that's in the game is gonna be stuck in there forever. They're like, moms can't get their kids like attention, and he goes, "What's new?" So he
Yeah.
goes in, and then he brings Grandpa in eventually, and then Grandpa wants revenge because the
apparently
toy maker
put him in a wheelchair
put him in the wheelchair. They used to be
30
buddies.
years ago.
Yeah, to the day. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
That'd be a
Which
really
is-
weird plot
which
point.
is a very exactly.
He pulls out a calendar of his back pocket and he's like, it's actually 30 years to the day.
Yeah, including leap years. I did the math. And then at the end, happy ending, like most movies in this trilogy. You want to start? Or do you want me to
Yeah,
start?
my first
start.
note is the opening is fun. I really love the noir style to it, where it's like
Yeah.
he's a hard-boiled detective, and I really like the part where he's like, I'll do anything for $4.99.
Yeah.
It's a great
Yeah,
line.
it opens on a closed water park and like leaves blowing in the wind, and he
Yeah,
walks up to a little girl. Do you know who she was?
I did, and then I forgot. Like I looked it up who it was
Yeah.
before this.
Yeah, I'll tell you in 1 second.
Yeah, go for
So
it.
so he walks up, and like you said, it's all noir style, and he goes, "I know why they turn the water off. It's winter." And she goes, "Who's they?" He goes, "The real owners of this water park," or something like that.
Yeah,
And the little girl was Selena Gomez, and it was her
that's who it was.
her
Yes.
first film ever, and her only second acting part. She was in the middle of filming Barney when this happened.
Wow. I always forgot she was on Barney.
Yeah.
As the world's biggest Barney fan, I should know that.
Yeah, 2002 to 2004.
So my next note is that Sylvester Stallone is a goddamn gem. He goes full ham in this movie. Like he really just. I think I love to think that Robert Rodriguez was like, there are no parameters for your acting. Just go crazy.
Yeah,
Like he really like his first introduction in this movie is like you said, he's the news guy on the TV wearing a fake mustache. And he's just fucking great. And there's even a part where he's like talking, his mustache falls off, and he like sits there like this talking, and with his finger covering his mouth. And
so funny.
yeah, he's great. I don't agree with some of the things of him personally, but I think he is a fantastic actor, and I love his work.
This being the first 3D movie, because the next one was also in 3D. Well, 4D. We'll cover that in a second. And I mentioned this in our Shrek episode, You can scroll through the podcast list and find it if you want. It's a fun one.
The Shrek episode, I love it.
Yeah. But I mentioned that watching 3D, something intended for 3D, not in 3D, is so silly. So this one being a 3D movie, I was watching it, not 3D, and like the amount of things getting thrown at the camera. Like imagine someone yo-yoing at the camera for no reason. Like if you're watching it, it just looks silly and stupid. But if you're watching 3D as a kid, you'd be like, "This is awesome." But I'm watching this like, "Wow, this is old. Like, why are you doing this?"
Yeah, I have a note that says you can really tell when something is 3D
Yeah,
because, and most of the movie, because it takes place in the video game world, is, which did you know 90% of this movie was filmed in a green screen environment? Only
I did not, but it
10%,
does not surprise me.
only 10% is a real world. But it's like they're in the video game world for most of it, and they're like just kicking up like goo at the screen and stuff, or like weird squishy rocks. Like it's not even
Yeah,
like real stuff that's coming at you, so
right.
it looks even goofier.
Junie was in level 1 and he meets some of the beta players, people who have been in the game for a while. And
Hmm.
one guy's like, "My name's Rez." And he goes, "Hi, Rez." And I thought that was funny.
Because it's like high resolution.
Exactly. "Hi, Rez." And I was like, haha.
That's a TV joke.
Yeah.
Well, how do Gertie Giggle's helicopters work? So I was thinking about this. She comes, so there's a scene where he's sitting in his treehouse, and she comes just fucking flying in the window,
Yeah.
and just her legs dangling, swinging in the air as her two pigtails are used as helicopter wing, or like
I assume it
helicopter
has
wings.
something to do with the hair bands because they are pretty large and noticeable. So I'm
Yeah,
wondering if they twirl her hair and off she goes or something. I don't know.
makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
I don't understand. George Clooney, he comes back in this movie. He is back as Devlin. He's now the president of the United States because he has a joke where he's like, as the director of the OSS, I was in charge of the world and nobody knew about it. So I decided to become president so everybody knew it.
Yeah.
George Clooney is great in these movies, and it sucks that he's in the worst one, but I don't know. He's great as that character that has maybe 3 minutes total screen time in an entire trilogy.
Supposedly, George Clooney's scenes were shot in one afternoon in his own living room in a suit jacket, shirt, tie, and pajama pants.
That's
Because it's
awesome.
it's all from the waist up, so he was in pajama pants supposedly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Well, so when Junie first goes into Game Over, the Game Over world, it looks a lot like Toontown. If you remember that old game, is a
yeah,
Disney game, I think. It just has that look to it, and it's weird. It's so weird looking from what the rest of the movie is, because there's just like cartoon bunny rabbits hopping around and like squirrels
yeah,
on springs, and
yeah. And the old buildings down the street.
yeah, it was just a weird look, and it's super jarring when they first get there because you're like, oh, okay, so this movie's not going to be real at all. Yeah, from there on out, the movie just looks bad. Like, I hate to say it, I love Robert Rodriguez. I think his work is fantastic, but this movie is just, I think it's his worst movie he's ever made. I mentioned earlier when I mentioned the budget. This had the same exact budget as the second movie. They both had a budget of $38 million because the studio was like, hey, do you want more money for the third one? And he said, no, I want the same exact budget. I just want more creativity. And so he got complete creative control to just do whatever he wanted.
Should have
And
took more
so,
money.
yeah,
Junie's playing the game, trying to get his sister, and he's not doing too good. He loses some health or whatnot. So they're like, "You can bring in one person from the outside world to help you." And he's like, "Okay, open family files." He's going through, and he's like, "Choose Grandpa," which I don't think we've mentioned. Grandpa's in a wheelchair. Oh yes, you did. Sorry, forget
we
that I
did,
even said that.
yes.
So he brings in Grandpa, and they list off the stats, and it's like, well, I forget his name.
Valentino?
No, it just says grandfather. I think it is Valentino. But then they're like, pros, this, this, this. Cons, physically disabled.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Robert Rodriguez taking a hard stance. He's like, this movie is not for the physically disabled.
Nope, that's a con.
You were in a
Con.
wheelchair. This movie is not for you.
But then he gets legs for the game.
Yeah, and then even at the end, he's like, "I do not want to lose these legs. I would rather live in this terrible video game world where I can pretend to walk than to
Yeah.
go back to a wheelchair for the rest of
Well,
my.
even the bad guy that that they were friends, then now they're enemies. He's
Yeah.
like, I gave you legs. I didn't have to do that because he made it like part of the game just for him. He's like, I gave you legs.
Well, I got two real quick notes since we're talking about the video game world.
Sure.
One note just says CGI looks horrible in the game, like we've mentioned multiple times now, but it gets a tiny small pass from me because it's supposed to be a video game.
Hmm.
But also, it just the video game makes no sense. Why are they in the real? Why are real world people there? And I hate video games where or movies where the video game world is the video game system entails them putting on like a headband and they're like that's the only control you need, and then the video game world shows them like doing punches and flips and stuff. It's like how are they doing that in the real world?
Yeah.
It's just I hate it. It's bad. But then the toy maker, who's the bad guy, since you're talking about how he gave the grandpa legs, if you would know voices of actors, he is super easy to tell who it is right away. They try
Oh
and
yeah.
hide him for a while, unlike a villain we'll get to. They try and hide him a little bit, but if you just hear his voice and go, well, that's Stallone.
Yeah. Definitely
So
old Sylvester. Yeah, and I do have a note here that just says different characters he played were hilarious because one's like down with the earth and like almost like a hippie.
yeah, one was like an old timey prospector guy.
Yeah,
One
and
was
then
like an Egyptian or something.
yeah, I don't remember. And then you realize that he's just talking to himself. Like they're literally just like parts of him.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is he's constantly making jokes where he's like, "I'm talking to myself over here." But yeah, he plays multiple parts, and he's just God, Stallone's great in this. He's I think the best part of this movie.
I think a good part. Yeah,
Well, to skip ahead a little bit, my next note is about the mech battle. So, do you have anything before that?
that was my next part too.
Oh, okay.
I thought the fight and the race were pretty cool, both of them. Like first there was a fight with some robotic characters. Next one there's a badass race. Okay, rewind that I said badass. There was a race. Both were pretty cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. The fight isn't that cool in my opinion, but the race is really cool.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying it was really cool, but I'm just like the idea of how, like, a lot of times when you have full control of a robot and you put on a suit that you punch, it punches, you're normally like inside of it or somewhere else. The fact
Yeah.
that your full body was the head was kind of cool. Um, and then when he finally got the hang of it, he's like running around in circles and stuff. I hated how he wasn't dizzy at all. But anyways,
Yeah, the race is kind of cool, and if you own this movie on the DVD copy, the original DVD copy with the red and blue glasses, it came with a DVD video game of the race, and you could play it with your Blu-ray or your DVD player remote.
nice.
It's a terrible. Um, my note was the mech battle is dumb. How would you stand on that platform when your mech is knocked over? Like, how would you not just fall off it? I know it's a video game. I'm overthinking these things because
Oh,
it's
you
just a video
definitely are.
game, and it's like, well, the programmers of the video game would just program it so you don't fall off the platform. But it's just, and then they're like in the world of the video game. Junie's like, oh, I'm getting dizzy. I'm gonna puke. Why would you puke? It's a video game.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm overthinking it, but then they're also like, I don't know. It's dumb. I feel like I'm really hating on this movie.
You are. I see. And this thing, I said, I try to enjoy the little stupid things, and
I'm
you're
saying
just
good
like,
stuff
this
about
movie
it though.
sucks. Yeah, true.
Like I really like Stallone in it, and I think the character, like the actors, do their performances well, and I like some of the character moments, like with Junie and Dimitri. Like even though it's weird because it's like, weren't you dating the president's daughter? But now the president's Devlin, so I guess she's the ex-president's daughter. And also, it's been less than a year, so was there a presidential election between the second and third movie? Because the second one came out, like we said, in August of 2002, and this one came out in July of 2003, so that's less than a year.
But they don't discuss timeline in the movie. Like it literally it could have been 6 years later. And that's one thing I will say. The
Mm.
movies are all came out close to each other. Junie and Carmen do look much older between them. I wonder if filming started way early on.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Are you done shitting?
I guess I have a
Just kidding.
couple more.
Yeah. So At the end of the race, Junie wins by a hubcap. His car gets destroyed or motorcycle, whatever, and he lands on a hubcap and slides across the finish line. And when he stands up, he kicks the hubcap off the ground and flies up just like Captain America with a shield. It was like literally to a T. Like it was
He's
that
the
was Captain
guy.
America. It was so cool.
He was
So
the
cool.
guy.
Well, but was he?
No.
No.
So I have a note about the race. You're gonna get mad because it's me hating on it, but there's a part where Junie looks so fucking stupid. So he's been a secret agent for however many years at this point, right? So he should know better. But he's in the race, and the guy comes up next to him and goes, "Hey, push the button that says do not push."
Oh my gosh, yes.
And Junie goes, "You mean this button? The one that says do not push?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, push that one." And Junie goes, "Okay, I will." And he pushes it, and then his car that he's racing on just falls apart. It's like, okay, why would you push that, you fucking idiot?
I'll admit, since the first one, Junie is so dumb. I've got little pet peeves about Junie since the first movie. Like he'll do something, I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh my
he's
gosh.
really
I mean, it's
dumb.
part of the character. Like they want you to think that, but it's just like, come on, Junie.
I know. And that's something we'll get to in the next one that I want to bring up. My last two notes are just kind of small ones. I wrote, this whole movie feels cheap because even if it cost $38 million, it looks so fucking cheap. It looks like a PS1 cutscene. And my last note is, this is a waste of Selma Hayek.
Well, luckily she wasn't in it much.
Yeah, as I'm saying, it's a waste of her.
Yeah.
Like, why would you have someone of her talent and just, oh, she's in one or two scenes? It's just weird to me. I guess they did that with like Steve Buscemi and stuff.
They're like, this is all we can afford to give you. How much can you give us? She's like, 10 minutes. It's like, okay. All right, so I have quite a few more notes. Not because I like this movie a lot, just there's a few things I liked.
Yeah, go for
it. You said Junie was the guy. Everyone thought Junie was the guy. He fit the guy in the poster because it's just a silhouette, and all the beta testers were like, "Oh my gosh, you're the guy!" And he's like, "Sure, just ride it out." So they get there and they're like, "You're not the guy. We know it." And he's like, the dude's like, "Yeah, but he is." And boom, look, the guy's there.
And it's Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood.
Hell yeah!
I thought this was kind of cool. So I'll circle back real quick in a second. Well, hold on. I thought it was really cool. I've got two parts to this. One, he walks up and he's all fearless. He's like, "Yeah, I'm the best." He just blasts through the door, super badass. He blasts through the door, walks through this cake, and then just like gets zapped and he's dead. And I thought that was really funny. And like the best guy ever just gets like dies instantly. But a point I wrote, and I know this is in this movie, Elijah Wood is this fearless, badass dude, where in Lord of the Rings, Frodo, he's kind of shy, timid, like doesn't want to be in the front of the line. And both trilogies came out 2001, 2, 3, back to back. Lord of the Rings and Spy Kids consecutively. I thought that was cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
I think these movies are really good at just having all of Robert Rodriguez's friends or people that he's worked with previously back in these. Because like Elijah Wood's in The Faculty, and Robert Rodriguez directed that.
Oh, okay.
So they worked together previously.
Yeah.
And like Salma Hayek was in one of the Mexico movies from the Mexico trilogy.
Hold on, I thought that came out after the Spy Kids 3. But
What?
yeah, it was Once Upon a Time in Mexico she was in.
I have no more notes for Spy Kids 3, so do you?
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. So Spy Kids 2, Spy Kids 3, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. So I don't know if was she in Desperado? Maybe that was his second film.
Maybe.
Yeah,
he was filming.
So was Steve Buscemi. So was Cheech Marion.
Okay, I was gonna say because he was filming Once Upon a Time in Mexico at the same time that he was filming Spy Kids 3.
Yeah, here's a fun fact. So yeah, you said The Faculty had Elijah Wood in it. 2 movies before that, Desperado, 1995, his second movie. It has Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, Steve Buscemi, and Cheech Marion, all in the Spy Kids, and Danny Trejo. So yeah, talk about his friends for sure. When the girl that Junie likes like dies or whatever, like disappears, he goes, "I never even got her email address," and it was just so funny because of the timing. Like cell phones were not around Like they weren't that big, so like literally kids are handing out email addresses to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because then later the boy's like, "Yeah, how about you want my email address to Carmen?" And I thought it was funny.
It's weird because she wasn't even real.
Right.
Like, and I don't know. Yeah.
There's the scene where George Clooney's character, like you said, like we've just mentioned, he shows up on the computer. He just has a message with the black box over his eyes and whatnot. But he shows up and he starts talking, and then he starts imitating Stallone's face because it changes and turns out it was Stallone the whole time. It was like a little mystery. So, but I just thought it was funny when George Clooney throws his mouth and voice and he's all Adrian. He never said Adrian, but you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
it was funny because even in the after the credits and the credits, the bloopers, he does it and he goes, "Oh, my career is over now," or something like that. I just thought it was funny that Stallone, George Clooney's pretending to be Stallone.
George Clooney's great. He's such a good actor.
Yeah. In the second movie, Steve Buscemi had glasses on, and one of the lenses were super broken, like spider cracked. And they give him the special glasses so he can see the bad guys in the end of the movie. And they're like, "Sorry, they're a little broke." And he puts them on, it's the same exact crack. And he goes, "They're perfect." And I just thought that was funny.
I guess I didn't even notice that. The ending of this one is very dumb.
That is my
Like,
next note. Right. Go ahead.
okay. Yeah,
So
I
dumb.
stopped paying attention. That's why if you notice my notes just kind of dropped off because I was like, I'm done with this movie. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
the ending
but
is terrible.
it
Like
is. I
it
mean,
makes no sense. Like all
yeah,
the
the
things that,
creatures down
yeah.
to the yeah. So my point on this, my note is, Grandpa and Dude have a talk, and they're like, we used to be friends, blah blah blah. And he's like, "Well, I forgive you," is what Grandpa says. And then on the outside, because they're in the creature robot dude, they beat up the robot, and then all of a sudden, boom, it collapses, and they come up, and all of a sudden, they're all for family, for family, family, family. Every single character says the word family. Sylvester Stallone goes, "Family." And instantly they're best friends. Not everyone. They're like, all the bad things you did. What? I don't know. We're best friends. What? It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the dumbest ending. I was so mad.
Yeah. It's a real bad ending for a bad movie. Why are the third movies and trilogies usually bad?
I don't know.
It's sad.
Anyways.
I can think of two trilogies off the top of my head where the third is the best though. Lord of the Rings and Captain America.
And then the post-credit scene for this one was
Thor.
Carmen and Junie's interview tapes before the first one started.
Oh yeah, their auditions.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So the post-credit scene for this was Junie and Carmen's audition tapes. I thought that was cool.
Yes, Alexa Vega and Daryl Sabara.
Yeah, Daryl.
Which he poops next to his wife, which is weird.
Teach their own. For special actors for this one, I'm pretty sure we pretty much covered everyone that's notable in my opinion. Sylvester Stallone,
Ricardo
Elijah
Montalban.
Wood. Yeah, so I think we covered it there. Earlier you said Bill Paxton's son plays Dinky Weeks Jr. James Paxton. Just wanted to throw out his name since you mentioned it.
Oh, gotcha. So how many stars do you give Spy Kids 3?
Just so you don't yell at me, I guess 4.
Wow.
You're still gonna yell at me, aren't you?
No.
Okay.
Overall, I give this movie 2 stars.
The reason I'm so generous with these stars is because it really doesn't matter to me. Like I can tell somebody this is the greatest movie of all time, and they're gonna go, "What? Are you stupid?" And I'll be like, "Have a nice day," and I'll walk away. So 5 stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll give this one 2. I think it's really, really bad, but there's things I like in it, like Stallone, and the ending is fucking awful. It's a
Yeah.
bad trilogy ender. I don't know. It's also the shortest one yet. It's an hour and 24 minutes. So that's good at least. But I watched it in 2 sittings.
Yeah, the next movie is Spy Kids All the Time in the World in 4D. So it was 4D sort of because it came out in 3D. And when you were in the theaters, you got this little scratch and sniff card with 8 little numbers on it. And when a certain number came on the screen, you scratch and sniff. And the only one I remember is when he's in the safe room and there's just cereal everywhere. And it wants you to, I think that was number 3. and you get to smell some free pebbles or something, I assume.
There's also the one where I think the baby poops in the diaper and it tells you to
Oh, I
smell
assume
one.
because that baby farts, poops, and pukes nonstop the whole movie. So I assume you have to smell that at one point in time.
Oh, definitely.
Oh
So
yeah.
this one's from 2011, and this one had a smaller budget. It actually has the smallest budget of $27 million, but this one grossed 85.6 million. So a steep um, downslope from what the previous trilogy grossed. And the Rotten Tomato scores of this one a little back. This is the first one that is the opposite of all the others. The critic score is 23%, and the audience score is 37%. I can't believe this has a 23% because I don't think in any way this is worse than the third.
I agree. I mean, it's very different. I'll just get right into saying
It's
so.
more in line with the first, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same feel, but it kind of has to go with because it's a new family. They're still related, and Junie and Carmen make appearances later, but the movie follows what is then Junie and Carmen's aunt, which is Machete and Giorgio. Sorry, Gregorio's
Gregorio.
Gregorio's sister, Jessica Alba and Joel McHale. I think that's a funny couple.
Yeah,
It starts out,
she's famous for wearing bikinis in movies, and he's famous for doing the soup on the E channel.
and she didn't wear a bikini in this movie.
No, she did not.
She
She
was
doesn't Good
actually
Luck Chuck.
she was actually in a car chase, having contractions the whole time because she was pregnant as a spy. I think that was funny.
Yeah, I wrote my first note of this is the opening scene is fun. The car tires are really dumb where they come out and they're like moving and
Yeah,
flopping all a bit. But the whole pregnancy thing is really silly and dumb fun. Like
yeah.
she's like very very pregnant and she's doing like going off zip lines and stuff and then her water breaks and she's having contractions in a car chase like you said
It's so funny.
and then like her family's waiting at the hospital for her to have this baby and she shows up late and the kids are like told you she'd be late.
Yeah, but the baby came early, and that's what she said. She's like, "But the baby's early, so I'm not late." It starts out pregnant mom having a kid with her husband, two stepkids, and those are the main kids in this movie. Um,
Mason Cook and Rose Blanchard.
Rowan Blanchard.
That's what it is.
And no one knows she's a spy because she hung it up as soon as the baby was born, which they make seem forever ago, but the baby's like not even a year old. And something bad happens to mom, well, stepmom, as they keep calling her because they hate her. And all of a sudden the alarm goes off. Like you said, it's along the lines of the first one. They have to get put in the safe room.
Well,
And
before that, we get introduced to the bad guy.
You're talking about notes. I'm talking about the synopsis.
We get introduced to the bad guy, Danger Diamo,
Yeah,
who well
there's a
no,
bad
Danger
guy.
Diamo is the guy who runs the OSS now. He's the new Donegan Giggles. And the bad guy is the timekeeper. And he wants to stop all time in the world. And that's the villain of the piece. So continue the synopsis. Sorry.
Yeah, he wants to stop all the time in the world because we don't value our time because we don't spend enough time with our children, which is probably the premise because Joe McHale always talks about how he doesn't get to time with his children. Sorry, I just like tried to make those words work. I'm gonna that.
Yeah.
Joe McHale always talks about how he doesn't have enough time with his children. He's part of his 5-year plan.
Yeah, which includes he's plays a spy hunter on TV where he tries to find spies and catch
Yeah,
them, which he's never caught one. And his
no,
5-year plan is to get on primetime TV so that he can stop working nights.
yeah. So he can spend time with his kids. Which later there's a line where a dude's like, "But your kids won't be kids in 5 years," and he was kind of like, "Oh shit, I better spend time with my kids now." Anyways, and yeah, get the bad guy. Like, not a whole lot to say about the synopsis of the movie. Pretty much we covered it, right?
I think so, yeah. We can just cover it in notes.
Exactly.
I don't have a whole lot of notes.
No,
Um,
me either. I have a few. Well, we covered. I put contractions during chase scene. LOL. That was my first one.
okay.
My second one, I wrote, I like Jeremy Piven as an actor. Maybe not as a person. You said maybe he's done some shady things. Who knows? Anyways, the way his acting style, I like. I've noticed it in this one.
We locked him in a dumpster one time. Whatever happened with that? I got out. Oh, okay. Makes me laugh every time I think about it.
Their dog is hilarious. His name is Argonaut.
Argonaut.
And in the beginning, when they're eating breakfast, they're like, all he does is stare at me. It's weird. And then you later find out that he's a robot told to watch the kids.
Yeah,
He's keeping an eye on them. He was super funny. It's voiced by Ricky Gervais, and it's like the level of funny as like Men in Black, the pug, which you said
Frank.
Frank, and
Yes.
also the bulldog from Lil Nicky, which what's his name?
I don't know his name.
I don't remember either. Oh, Mr. Beefy. Ricky Gervais is hilarious. Certain times, he's not my favorite actor by any means, but I like some of his things, and he was great as this dog.
I think Ricky Gervais is very funny.
Yeah,
But he talks about his atheism a lot. You ever notice that?
no, he's
Every
not my favorite
stand-up.
actor.
Oh, okay. Do you ever watch any of his stand-up sets?
I'm not.
Uh, so one thing I think he's very funny, but one thing I kind of dislike about him currently is every stand-up set he does now, it's just him on stage being like, yeah, so I tweeted about how I hate God, and this guy tweeted back at me, and so then I tweeted at him and was like, hey, fuck your mom. Ha 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 ha, I win because I'm rich.
And the crowd laughs.
And the crowd's like, yeah. And he even like I think in his last one, he even brought like tweets on stage with him. He put them up on screen and was like showing people like things that people tweeted at him, and then
That's annoying.
he was like showing what he tweeted back. Like, yeah, it's kind of weird.
You should tweet at him that you hate that. You'll be on his next stand-up routine.
I don't want to.
Do you have any notes before I steamroll this whole segment?
So my second note is, how rich are these spies? Because Jessica Alba's character has a rocket launcher in the basement. The kids go into the panic room and then they sit in some lawn chairs, and the lawn chairs turn into two rockets that shoot out of the house, and then they fly around in the sky for a bit. And it's fucking ridiculous. But how much money do they make? And also, is the entire Cortez family spies? Like,
Yeah, I think so.
it's ridiculous. But
Well, I'm wondering how much of the money is like OSS funded, like almost like government funding. Like they have to give them a little. Like, oh, well, I wonder if every spy gets a safe house or every spy gets X, Y, or Z.
yeah, I guess. I don't know how it works, but
Neither do I. We should look into her taxes.
a really funny scene or a really funny sequence from the chase scene that ensues with the rocket launcher, where they're flying in like I don't even know what you'd call that, fucking spaceship flying through the air. I don't know.
A pod of some sort.
Yeah, so they're getting chased by like the timekeepers goons who are flying around on on like clock gears. The kid Mason Cook, he does not like flying, and he's puking in all these bags. She's like, how many puke bags you have? And he's like, I got these many. And she's like, throw them at the guys. And so they're getting hit with puke bags, and the puke's flying at the screen. There's a part where he throws his last puke bag, it hits one guy, and he falls into the other guy, and then they spin around a flagpole, and they both just spin round and round the flagpole until they knock heads at the end.
Yeah, it was almost like ladder golf, like when you throw the golf balls on a string.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, my next note's about that chase scene. Well, another one just came to mind when they open the hatch to make them convertibles. Essentially, the Argonaut's like, "I love sticking my head out the window," and his hair's blowing in the wind. It's so funny. That's what just came to me now. But my note is those bad guys, those goons you talk about.
Yes,
it was like Green Goblin, Dr. Ock crossover. Like the way they were riding those gears looked, and they had goggles, I believe, was like 100% like Green Goblin. And then like their toy, like their weapon they threw out was this arm, and this claw goes right in Carmen's face, and like it's literally three, just like Doc Ock. And then they like clamp, like click, click, and it was like bad, like it was like Spider-Man bad guys. It was super cool.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I thought that was also cool.
Yeah,
because like he shoots the thing, and what was weird about it though is it's a handheld device, and it shoots the claw, and the claw like stops and then like turns around and like is like,
yeah, it has a mind of its own.
Yeah, everything's a little bit silly in these.
Oh yeah. One note, like we mentioned, how Spy Baby constantly farts, pukes, and whatnot. The stepmother leaves the kids at the OSS, and like you said, the leader is Danger Diamo, Jeremy Piven's character, and the baby farts, I believe, and it just stinks the whole room. And he says, That smells like lentils and desperation. And I thought that was funny.
I will be honest, I don't know what lentils are, but that is very good.
A lentil is a legume which you put in soup, or like a lentil loaf. It's kind of like a split pea, sort of like split pea and ham soup.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you some lentils sometime. You might not. You probably won't like them, but I'll give you a toe. Yeah,
I think this movie isn't very good, but the chemistry between siblings is pretty good, and it has fun moments. Overall, better than the third.
fun moments for sure. The old oh shit hockey mushrooms came back. It actually sat out for the third one. I'm pretty sure. 3 shiitake mushroom quotes, not in the third one.
Yeah, I don't think it was in the third one.
No. And my last note, which I don't remember what happened, but I think somebody maybe got electrocuted or something, but they're sitting there just like shaking and their fingers are going nuts. And Jeremy Pivens goes, "What's with the jazz hands?" And I thought that was silly.
My last note is, oh no, Jeremy Piven is the bad guy. I never saw that coming. I will say there's one part where so Carmen is introduced about halfway through the movie, I'd say, maybe a little earlier. She's in more of the movie than you'd think.
Pretty
And
early, right when the kids find out their stepmom's a spy.
yeah, she's introduced very early on.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, we don't talk about Junie. We don't talk about that motherfucker. And then later in I'd say the last 25 minutes, Junie shows up and they call him. And when he's coming, like they all stop what they're doing. They look at the door. He's coming in from the shadows and they're like, that's Junie Cortez, the baddest motherfucker to ever join the spy agency. And it shows up and it's just Daryl Sabaro with his curly, goofy hair. And he's like, hey guys, it's me, Junie. And they're like, round of applause for this fucking badass motherfucker. Like it's such a weird dynamic. And like you said earlier in the 3 movies, like he's just an idiot. Like he's so dumb and he always does the wrong thing. But they just treat him, they're like, this is the coolest guy that's ever been here.
Yeah, and especially for that scene, I liked how they made him happen because Carmen's the only one in that room, and he's like, and Danger's like, we couldn't do this without the best spy ever, and she's like starting to perk up, like expecting them to say her, the best Cortez says her last name. She's all excited, came out of retirement for this, and she's like, what? Junie Cortez, and everything's clapping. She's so pissed. It was so funny.
He's the best.
And good thing that, and then so he gets the badge, and Carmen's like, no, and she's like, chucks it in a trash can. Good thing, because later he doesn't freeze like every other agent.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a good thing that trash can was there.
Junie saves the day.
Good job, Junie.
Junito. So I don't have anything else really to say about this. This one, I don't think it's terrible, but it's not a great movie, and I didn't take a lot of notes.
No. That's all the notes I had.
Okay. It is fun. Like some of the gadgets and stuff are really fun, but overall, it's not a great movie. I think it deserves a better rating than 23% because it's better than the third, but I understand why people don't like it. How many stars would you give this one?
I'll give it a 4.
Okay. I would give this one a 3 out of 5 stars.
And for the actors, we pretty much named all the notable ones already in this episode. I mean, in this movie. I will mention Argonaut, and like I said, voiced by Ricky Gervais. The dog, the actor, the dog actor, his name's Elmo.
Oh, like the Muppet. Before we move on to our super secret thing that we're going to talk about, I wanted to interject really quick with the 2 Machete films. Also, both of them are written and directed by Robert Rodriguez, and they continue the story of Machete from the Spy Kids trilogy. And he does some murders, and they're really gruesome. And Daryl Sabara has a cameo as Junie in the first Machete movie, and they're really, really good. I haven't seen the second one. I've only seen the first. It was really good. And there's a scene in it where Machete grabs a guy. He cuts his stomach open, grabs his intestines, holds onto his intestines while he runs down the hallway, jumps out a window, and uses the intestines to swing through a window on the lower floor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Fucking awesome. There's so much blood in that movie. It's insane.
Do you want a few more fun facts in general?
About what?
Spy Kids.
Like what?
Junie's middle names, which is mentioned in I forget which movie.
The second one, because Carmen's middle names are in the first. And
Right.
both of their middle names have parts of Robert Rodriguez's kids.
Exactly what I was
He
going to
has
say.
he has 5
So,
kids. They
so
all start
Junie's
with an
middle,
R.
Junie, yeah, Carmen, Rogue, Harian, something or other. Those are the kids' names, maybe. And Junie's middle name's Rocket Racer Rebel, and those are the 3 kids' names. The first movie was edited in Robert Rodriguez's garage.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
he does most of the work on all his movies.
My last note, supposedly, Robert Rodriguez recalled in an interview that George Clooney's impersonation of Stallone was so good that Stallone himself couldn't tell the difference between the impression of him and his own voice in certain scenes.
That's pretty neat.
That is.
I can't do a very good Stallone.
But at the same time, is that, like, how smart is Stallone? I'm just kidding.
I can't do a very good Stallone, can you?
No.
And
No, I'm not even going to try. Earlier I said Adrian, and that's about as much as I'm going to do.
hey, yo, Adrian. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can do Christopher Walken. That's my one celebrity I can do pretty well.
It's not as good as you think.
Is it not?
I don't know. Try it.
So, like, I can't do it. I'm put on the spot. I don't know.
You don't have to.
Christopher Walken here. I was in Batman Returns and Joe Dirt. I'm over here just doing my thing, and I was in movies. I like movies. It fell apart at the end, but
That's okay. So his mannerisms, yes. The sound, no.
okay.
I'm not trying to burst your bubble, but you have a higher pitched voice than he in general, so it sounds different. Like
Christopher Walken. Yeah.
What's the super secret special thing you speak of?
Well, so the title of this episode is the Spy Kids Trilogy +1, which is a lie because it's +2. Because there's Spy Kids Mission Critical, which is a Netflix series that ran for 2 seasons.
Was that a Netflix show?
It was, yes. It was on Netflix.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it.
Yeah, I watched 5 episodes.
That's more than me.
What do you think of this show?
It wasn't amazing.
No, it's
It
not
wasn't.
great.
It wasn't garbage, but it wasn't amazing.
Agreed.
I only have very few notes because I only watched a few episodes.
I didn't even take any notes for this.
I literally have 3 notes. I'm just gonna rattle them off. The Thumb Thumbs were in this, and there was a point in time where one of the Thumb Thumbs was a therapist. It basically just nods, and she goes, "Thanks, Tom." And I thought that was funny because it's Tom Thumb.
Oh, like Thumbelina?
I don't remember where Tom Thumb is, but I've heard it, so I thought Tom Thumb was funny. One of the Spy Kids, one of the new Spy Kids, is Floop's daughter.
That's true, yes.
Cool that they brought in Floop's daughter. Went by the name Scorpion. That was a spy name. And my last note is to get to the OSS headquarters, you need to go through Taco Butt, which is like a taco restaurant, and it's spelled Butte, but every single time you ever see the E, it's like half fallen off, like it's missing. So you see it and it says Taco Butt.
So you said it was Butte?
Yeah, but the E's always like missing.
So that'd be Taco Butte.
But the E's always missing.
Yes.
So it's butt.
But it would be Taco Butte.
It's Taco Butt.
I didn't like the show very much. It's not terrible,
No.
but the animation's pretty bad, and
Yeah, I'll give it.
It just
like
doesn't follow the storyline of. It doesn't like pick up after the 3rd movie.
No, it's just this new thing. It's like hey, kids are not watching Spy Kids, but we like the story. Let's make a movie. I mean, a show.
I did like the thing at the beginning when Carmen had like a breakfast burrito or something, and Junie like was running across the ceiling to grab it from her.
Yeah,
that was okay. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, and the only way he got to keep it is because he licked it. She's like, ew.
Ew, you have boy germs.
Ew. I'll give it like a 1/2 stars. And the only reason is because I've only watched a little bit, and I assume some episodes are better than others, so those episodes might get 2 stars. Overall, I'm going to give it a 1 star. I would never suggest this show to someone.
Yeah, I'll give it 2. I don't think it's downright terrible, but I also wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Sure.
So, like, it got canceled after 2 seasons, so I don't think anyone was watching it anyways.
Yeah, probably not. A few notable actors real quick in this show. Tom Kenny voices SpongeBob.
Yes.
Bobcat Goldthwait was in an episode. Patton Oswalt was in an episode. Molly Shannon was in 12 episodes.
Oh, wow.
Thomas Lennon, I forget the name, but the girl from Raising Hope with the tooth.
Oh, Kate McCucci.
Yeah, she was in this. So yeah, quite a few well-known names.
Yes.
That helps.
God, Raising Hope, what a great show. Except for season 4. Season 4 is not as good.
Yeah, we've discussed that in a past episode. Go find it. You can
Yeah.
listen to it. Yeah, I think that's it about the show. Does that wrap up Spy Kids?
I think that does. I don't have anything else to say. The show's bad, so I didn't stick with it.
Yeah, that was Spy Kids. Then last little bit that just popped in my head right now, and I'm gonna look it up just so I. Spy Kids had a pretty good soundtrack throughout the whole thing. It's pretty much just a score, like all instrumental, but a lot of it was written by Robert Rodriguez and or I believe his wife and whatnot.
Yep.
You should YouTube. This is to you and the listener. Oye como spy, just like Oye como va by Santana, I believe, but it's Oye como spy by Los Lobos. It is a wonderful, wonderful song. You should give it a listen.
You should send it to me.
Okay, are you ready?
For what?
Wheel of
Versus.
This is the part of the podcast where we take 5 characters each from what we just discussed, make them battle each other. Spin a wheel one at a time. Best of 5, one elimination style. One of our favorites, one of your favorites, one of your mom's favorites. It's great. Do you want to tell me who you've got on your roster?
I would love to. I have Junie Cortez. I have Carmen Cortez. I have Ingrid Cortez. I have Gertie Giggles. And I have Floop de Shoop de Poop.
I've got the Thumbs. Yes, the whole army. Romario, Argonaut, Claudia Floop / Scorpion, Floop's daughter, and Daddy-O Cortez, which is Gregorio. And I'm going to quickly ask you, because the fact the first 3 movies are the same timeline for the most part.
Yes.
But then the next one, the 4th one, is so far later. Is this Junie and Carmen from Kids or from the 4th one? Because that does matter.
It's whatever their peak is.
And what's your opinion of it? Doesn't need to be pinpointed, but like young them or old them?
I'll pinpoint when we get to it.
Can't go into this till scared. Okay, fine. I'm scared.
All right, I'm going to spin my first spin. All right, well, I got Carmen Cortez. And I'm going with Carmen from Spy Kids 2. I think that's her peak, because in the 3rd one, she's missing. And in the 4th one, she's not even an agent anymore.
I have Argonaut. And I'm going to switch them right into attack mode.
So Carmen, in the 2nd one, has that helicopter thing. So she could just pick up Argonaut and be like, hey, look at this. We're flying. And he's like, whoa, I love the wind in my fur. And then she kicks him out of the helicopter and he falls to his death.
As you come to pick him up, he can like lunge like 30 yards and like literally bust through a locked steel door within like an instant. That's how powerful he is in attack mode.
Okay.
So I think you come up with the helicopter and he's just like, bam, nope. Even if you got him in the helicopter somehow. Now he's in there. Now he's like a little pinball in your gumball machine.
All right. Yeah. What if she uses the electrical bubble gum to throw it at you and then it, zaps you and your robot parts shut down? What do you think about that?
I think he'd block it. Do you remember the part when he's watching the baby and he like brings out like 8 little arms holding so many things for like a pacifier and a mobile and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, so I bet he can like whip out a freaking shoe for all he cares to catch the gum and drop the shoe or something. I think you're underestimating the time. Like I said, he's gonna be like bam, and he's so powerful that I don't think you get a second chance. He's gonna get in that helicopter and just like literally beat the shit out of you.
Okay, what about a boat?
You're already dead. There's no boats.
All right. Fuck. I'm spinning again. Who do you get?
I got Scorpion, Claudia Floop.
I got Gertie Giggles.
Ooh.
So I'm coming flying in with my hair twirling in the wind, right? My legs dangling, just flip-flopping around as I fly with the weight of only my head. And so I'm coming in full speed, right? And I do a quick stop and my legs coming to meet my body, they go whoop bam, kick you right in the fucking face.
I'm pretty sure I'll dodge it because, like you said, you didn't pay that much attention in the first few episodes of the Netflix show, but Claudia Floop is extremely acrobatic and like super good at dodging and moving and like.
Yeah, but this is Gertie Giggles we're talking about, the first ever agent to get
But
level
also,
1 clearance.
But also, I'm going to bring this back to you from a few episodes ago. I'm animated.
What is the context of the animation, though? That's also key.
Netflix animation. Just kidding. No, she would not get a pancake head in that movie, in that show. So
No.
I get what you're saying. I think this one's
a toss-up.
Semi-well-rounded battle.
Gertie has more gadgets, I think. Remember in the second one, she shows up, and they got all those high-tech gadgets, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And then she does the computer stuff and the hacking, and what's Floop? Floop's like, "Oh,
I only watched a couple episodes. I don't know. Floop, for all I know, Floop has like super robotic arm that can like literally shoot 1,000 missiles at you. But I didn't get to episode 7, so I don't know.
I watched 5 episodes, and I don't think that happens.
That never happened. Well, then I guess Gertie will get this one. I guess Gertie Giggles got it.
Hell yeah! Spin, 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 spin.
Who'd you get?
Well, who'd you get last time?
Floop's daughter.
I got Floop's father. Floop.
I got Romero.
Okay.
Army of creatures.
Okay. I like this. I like this a lot.
Okay.
I wanted this. I secretly wanted this matchup to happen because you are Romero with your army of creatures, right?
Yes.
Well, Floop has an army of 500 robotic spy kids, if you recall, which are robotic. They're metal. If you punch them, you go ouchie. And so he could be like, hey, go fight those creatures. And what are the creatures going to do? They're going to kick it and be like, ow.
Well, I think the flying pigs are going to pick you up, take them back to their nest, and just throw them there.
And you got to think there's 500 of them. How many creatures did he have? 20? 30?
I don't know.
50? 60? 70? 80? 90?
Now you're just showing off.
100?
They can count by 10.
What can the creatures do? Fly? Because those robot kids had jetpacks in their shoes.
I think I'm just going to give it to you. You made a valid point.
Was it all the counting?
Yes, the counting got to me.
You're like, you counted too high. All right, I'll take that. So it's 1-2 now. So I'm spinning again. Oh, hell yeah. Who'd you get?
I got Gregorio Daddio Cortez.
I got Junito Cortez.
With his fake mustache.
And I am choosing the Spy Kids 4 Junie. When they're like, this is the coolest guy that's ever existed. He's cooler than his dad.
He looks super stupid.
He just looks like the same kid, but in like a leather coat.
Yeah.
And slightly taller. And they're like, this is the coolest guy that's ever existed on the planet.
I think it looks weird.
You remember Uncle Jesse and played by John Stamos in Full House? Well, this guy's cooler.
No. I think Daddio Gregorio Cortez would win.
You think so?
I do.
But Junie, as you recall, is the coolest guy that's ever existed on the planet by the time of the fourth one.
Those are personal opinions of people who don't matter. This Cortez here, this Antonio Banderas, he is qualified to be the leader of the OSS. He's been a spy for many years. I think there's a whole secret side to him that we don't know. Like, he could probably have his own movie. Like Spy Kids is done. They should do the story of Gregorio Cortez. And then we'll be like, oh my gosh, he's so badass. He could whoop the shit out of Junie if he wanted. And I'm like, yeah, he could. And he wants to right now.
So that's a valid point. So I assume you're going with Spy Kids 1, Antonio Banderas?
I think
okay.
So.
I will say, I think you're going to take this one.
Yeah.
But I forgot to mention this earlier when we talked about the first Spy Kids. So I'm just going to throw it in here. Who cares? I really like the bit where when he's dropping them off at school, that like bigger dad is like, hey, what are you doing, Antonio Banderas? And he has that like dream sequence of him beating the shit out of the guy. But then it
Yeah.
turns out that he's like, no, I gotta pretend to be just a normal dad. I can't kick the shit out of this guy. All right, I'll let you have this. You can take it.
Another funny note about him that I forgot is
If
when
I
he
if I
saw,
would have got my last pick on that one, I think he would have went down.
since you just said a little funny moment of him that you forgot, so did I. When he first saw his mother-in-law show up, his perfectly slicked back hair just goes wow, and it's like sticking up in all angles real quick, and then goes right back down. I thought that was funny. It's like his hair had a mind of its own.
That's pretty good. It's like a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There was a few cartoon moments throughout the whole thing, like especially audio. I actually did watch your drunk explain of Lion King this morning, and when you were like that Scooby Doo sound, that made me think back to Spy Kids. There was plenty little sounds like that. All right, no spinning needed because we're down to the last one, and we are tied.
And you got the thumbs, I believe.
Wait, are we tied?
Yes, we're tied.
Okay. Yes, and I have the thumbs, the whole army of them.
And I have Ingrid Cortez.
Now I assume you're going to say she's badass, and I'm gonna say
She is a badass, but she also doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, and I've got quantity, and you get enough thumbs in your situation, you're gonna get snuffed out by those thumbs.
Yeah, I feel like she's the character that gets the least amount of play.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't do a whole lot. She does in the first movie, at least, which is obviously the one I would choose because she gets the most screen time. But in the later movies, they mostly focus on Antonio Banderas, like in the second one at least. And by the third one,
supporting wife.
Yeah, but by the third one, I don't even think are the parents in that movie? Yeah, they show up at the end fight, but other than that, they're barely in it. Yeah, I guess you win this. Yeah.
So I
wish I would have. Yeah, I wish I would have got
this thumb war. You're saying?
Yes, I wish I would have got Ingrid last one because Gregorio couldn't have killed her. Junie could have maybe taken down the thumbs because he watches the Floop show. But oh well, you'll live and die.
So now I can just envision the beginning. Ingrid's like 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war. Then Thumb's like, "Fuck you, bitch."
You laugh, but I just lost.
You are falling behind in the Wheel of Versus championships.
I really am.
You can come back. I will probably beat you next week and the following, but you can come back.
I shouldn't have chose Junie as my first pick.
Who should you have chose?
Maybe Machete.
Yeah, but we discussed him. He didn't do a whole lot ever. Like, yes, he has all the gadgets, but they never show him using them any. So for all you know, he doesn't even know how. Machete movies, it's not really the same. Even the director, like, we have our own opinions on this, but the director says it's an alternate universe. And we're like, is it though?
No, he's wrong.
He's wrong. He created it, and he's wrong.
I know, it's sad, but he is.
Yeah. That was a good episode, in my opinion.
I agree.
I enjoyed the prep work for this. I've not watched Spy Kids in a very long time. I don't even think I've seen the fourth one. I might have not even never seen the third one, to be honest. But that was fun. Yeah.
Yes, I like these movies. I liked the first two as a child.
Well, do you want to give out the email?
Absolutely, I do. It's ourdads@gmail.com. You can hit us up with any comments, questions, or concerns, or any you want to message me and be like, "Hey, Bat Tracy, I think you're an idiot because you think Game Over is the bad movie. Well, I think it's the good movie, and you're a bad movie." So you can tell me that.
I just want to throw out there, if anybody is feeling generous and in the position to do so, you could give us a nice little donation and become a supporter, a monthly supporter. You can check out anchor.fm/ourdadsourbrothers. I believe there's a dash between every word. Or it's just in every episode description, in every episode, anywhere, any platform. And you can check out our Instagrams. I've got Nathan Tracy, One Brick Wall at a Time, and Halomoto.
Halomoto.
Do you have any Instagrams?
I do have an Instagram. It's BatTracy01, which is my username for almost everything except for TikTok, which is Batlows Movies. And on YouTube, you can find me at Punk Rock Blues. And starting soon, I have a second podcast called Brothers in Tights. I don't know what day it's going to be on, though. It's a wrestling podcast. That's all.
I did not condone advertisement for a different podcast.
Well, I talked about ODABs on BITs, so.
That's because you needed to. All right, what's the next episode about? What's next week?
Next week is really exciting for me. It's one of my favorite actors of all time. We're doing Chris Farley, his 10 movies. This is our
Because
10th
it's the
episode.
10th episode. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be fun. He's been in 10 episodes. Oh, god damn it. Yeah, that'll be fun. All the movies he's ever been in.
Exactly, which some of them we did talk about. There'll be some crossover from the Adam Sandler episode, but
Oh, that's okay. All right. Well, until next time, I'm Nathan Tracy.
and I'm Bat Tracy. And our dads are brothers.
That they are. That was fun.
It was fun. We should
Yeah, I
do
really
this.
enjoyed myself.
We should do this again sometime.
Okay, like when?
I don't know, maybe weekly.
I like where your head's at.
We could do a podcast.
I'm down.
We just need a clever name.
Yeah. How about
All right, bye.